No, you want to go after waste and fraud. This is what's so frustrating. They're not going after any of the big ticket items, the subsidies to fossil fuel companies, the Pentagon budget with the 5 prime contractors.
Hegseth did say he wanted to cut that by 8%.
Yeah, and he said he wants to reinvest it in the other parts of the department so that the top line doesn't go down. It's all smoke and mirrors. They're not going after Medicare Advantage fraud. They're not going after prescription drugs that are costing the government money.
So Congressman, if I can interrupt.
Yeah.
I hear everything you're saying. And some of it I actually agree with. How come Democrats haven't presented an alternative plan?
We have. Senator Warren has. I have.
And not you and not Senator Warren, but the leadership of the Democratic Party. I haven't seen a plan from Hakeem Jeffries. I haven't seen a plan from Chuck Schumer. I have not seen a plan from the leadership of the party saying, look, we recognize that we have to have cuts. We recognize that government is bloated. Let us present the Democratic plan to work with the president, to work with Republicans, to do what's in the best interest of the American people.
I can answer that question. The reason why Democratic leadership has not been able to offer an alternative plan is because they're still focused on the past. They're still crying about January 6th. And in this video, Stephen A. Smith is going to call out Hakeem Jeffries about why they still worried about January 6th. When are they going to let January 6th go? And they'll never let it go. As long as Trump is in political life, they'll never let January 6th go. But I digress. I already talked about in nauseum on this channel how most Americans don't care about January 6th. Most Americans don't even remember January 6th because January 6th did not affect most Americans. But BLM riots did, destroying their property did, breaking into their cars, their stores, disrupting their life to go protest about a criminal that committed a crime and then he got arrested by cops and end up overdosing on some drugs. Who knows what happened to the guy? But he didn't die because he had a foot on his neck. I'm just saying it right now. Polls show that Doge is overwhelmingly popular and that the government spending should be reduced by at least $1 trillion. And Democrats keep putting out this narrative that for some reason Doge is extremely unpopular. Oh, Elon's doing things to enrich himself. This is the kind of narratives that the left is going with, and it's not working. It's honestly not working. And the fact that the Democrats continue to try to resist Donald Trump's agenda, it's making them look bad, right? They're complaining about Elon Musk being an unelected bureaucrat. But at the same breath, unelected bureaucrats, appointed federal judges, are blocking Trump, who's an elected official, from doing his agenda. Make it make sense, Democrats. But this is the kind of alternative that the Democrats present, right? They still want to die on the hill of transgenderism. I'll probably do that on a separate video. But for now, we're going to focus on Hakeem Jeffries being confronted by Stephen A. Smith to let go of January 6th. Let's take a look.
When are we going to let go of January 6th? We're going to let that go because I mean, the man was impeached twice, convicted on 34 felony counts, and still reelected. I mean, at some point in time, somebody like Senator Durbin and others who was asking Pam Bondi about, are you willing to admit he lost the election? It's like, enough of that, because the American people clearly have spoken. At least 77 plus million of them have spoken. He won the Electoral College vote. He won the popular vote. He won the swing states, et cetera. They've said what they've had to say. When are y'all going to let that go? And number two, how are you going to go about not coming across as being at the mercy of the progressive left? And I'm asking you that question specifically because in a lot of American people's eyes, you're seen as somebody who's center left, more of a centrist, more reasonable than some of the folks that have been the most outspoken for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, more reasonable than Jasmine Crockett, AOC, right? I honestly, this is why a lot of people say the Democrats are friendly. You got people, I think, I don't remember. You got people walking away from the walkaway movement started, I think, around 2015, 2016. During Trump's first administration, the walkaway movement was a thing. A bunch of black conservatives and black people were walking away from the Democratic Party, a bunch of minorities walking away from the Democratic Party, a bunch of people that people automatically assume by default that they'll be Democrat, walking away from the Democratic Party. And I think after Trump's second term, it's exploded. I see videos of constantly people saying, yo, Democrats are nothing. Democrats are not party for the working class. Democrats are not this. Democrats are getting called out for their fakeness, right? You see O'Connor. O'Connor's like, oh, why doesn't Donald Trump do things our way? And Shermichael comes out and said, yo, you haven't offered an alternative plan. You haven't even worked with Doge. You want to sit here, you criticize Doge. You didn't like Doge from the jump, Democrats. And now you're pretending that you want to help Doge. You want to tell Doge, oh, you should be cutting from the Pentagon. Why not? Why you don't offer cuts from the Department of Education? How can you justify us spending $800 billion on a department that has given us worse outcomes since its inception? Make it make sense, Rokana. How can you justify us spending all this money on climate change initiatives when it didn't even work out? It didn't even help California deal with wildfires. How can you justify that spending? Why you don't want to talk about all the freezes that's going on with Donald Trump trying to do something about these cuts? You only want him to cut things that you want him to cut, that only serves your agenda. Oh, okay. Does as much as the Pentagon takes a lot of money, Department of Education, they're like neck and neck. I think the Pentagon is like 52 billion dollars to fund the entire department. Department of Education is around that, is in that ballpark. So this is just as much cuts to be made there as in the Pentagon. But you crying. But you and other Democrats, y'all was mocking Doge. But now Doge got some power. Doge got some public support from the American people. Now you want to pretend, oh, they're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. But you never engaged in the conversation. When Elon Musk, during the beginning of Doge, he came out and he was like, oh, I will meet with Republicans and Democrats. No Democrat met with him. But here you are on TV criticizing him, acting like you're trying to do something. And this is why the Democrats are losing. You're focusing on the past. Y'all sit here, eternal critics. Y'all love to criticize, but y'all don't offer any other solutions. And if you ask me, if I have one person, all they offer is criticism, and another person offers solutions, and the critic can only criticize this guy's solutions, I'm like, at least he gave me something. What you got from me? Nothing. What I'm supposed to do with your criticism? Okay, you think he's doing it wrong. Okay, what is a way you can do it right? And liberals and Democrats, they don't like to give alternatives. They don't love to give solutions. They don't love to give statements because they can get criticized. What I noticed about liberals is they love to stay in this vagueness because that way you can't criticize them. And this is how they get into a lot of trouble when it comes to their political messaging. But I digress. Let's hear how Hakeem Jeffries responds with being confronted about the fact that Donald Trump won the popular vote, won the electoral college, after years of them crying about January 6th. And Stephen A. Smith is asking him, can you give it up, please? Can you drop it, please? Can you stop asking if he lost the 2020 election? It doesn't matter anymore. He won the 2024 election. Let's see how Hakeem Jeffries responds.
Well, I think in terms of January 6th, look, it's not something that the American people should ever forget.
Okay.
Because it was an extraordinary event. I was there when we were debating, as Congress does, the certification of the election. And we were told that a mob has breached the Capitol. They're on the second floor. They're a few steps outside of the House chamber and hit the ground, and be prepared to secure the gas masks that are underneath your seats, because there were people who were trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power.
Okay.
And this is the greatest democracy in the history of the world, so we can't forget January 6th. I'm not suggesting that it's a core issue moving forward in terms of how we are making our case to the American people, but we also can't ignore the fact that in one of his first acts, President Trump chose to pardon violent felons who brutally assaulted and beat police officers. Are they the party of law and order?
Law and order, part of law and order. Yes, they are. Yes, they still are. Because you don't want to, the part he don't want to tell you about is the fact that these people were suffering in federal prison already, right? When BLM riots were going on, right? Hakeem Jeffries' side. When BLM riots came here, destroying property, destroyed billions of dollars, cost people lives. David Dunn, my prime example, assaulting people. Y'all rose a fund to bail them out from accountability. Now, politically, Donald Trump does equivalently the same thing, because at the end of the day, if you want to make an apples to apples comparison, BLM was a worse riot than January 6th. BLM affected more of American people than January 6th did. This is what I'm talking about. This is why a lot of people forget about January 6th. This is why a lot of Americans don't care about January 6th. Trump's argument was, hey, they've been in there for 4 years. 4 years. I think that's enough punishment for assaulting police, damaging property at the Capitol. They suffered 4 years in there. And you want to call them criminals and thugs? But what about BLM then? And this is the problem that a lot of leftists don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to acknowledge that they look hypocritical here. For political reasons, you want to hold Republicans to a higher standard, and you want to hold your own side. And no one's gonna side with you on this. Donald Trump's argument is, hey, they already been there in 4 years. I think they already suffered enough. I'm a part of them, especially when you got no case against them, especially when you guys were withholding evidence for a man to prove his innocence in the January 6th trials. Y'all want to just ignore all of this, right? But liberals love the appeal of authority. They love the fallacy of authority. Oh, the government people say they did these things, so therefore they did it. No, that's not evidence. And this is why I say the left hates critical thinkers, because critical thinkers are skeptical. Hey, I'm skeptical of your proposition. I'm skeptical of your framing. Can you clarify or prove why I shouldn't be? They can't. And then they want to get mad at me that I agree with Tim Pool and said that Luke Beasley, who was arguing in favor of keeping January 6th in jail without any trial, without any case against them, no charges, nothing, just waiting in federal jail, waiting for a prosecution for 4 years. That tells you how slow the federal government is. Even after Donald Trump pardoned them, they were still holding them in federal prison. They didn't want to let them go. They were slow walking, letting them go. And then when we found out all this stuff with the federal government, how do you expect the American people to side with you and trust you when all this waste, fraud, and abuse is going on? All this misuse of money. If there's misusing money that's not theirs, how you know they ain't misusing power? And this is the point that many people are having. 92% of Washington voted for Kamala Harris, where these January 6ers were being held. You don't think they were being prosecuted unfairly based on political reasons? And this is the kind of assumption or conclusion that I land on. And the fact that they keep talking about it, no one cares anymore. January 6th only personally affected y'all. You're so emotionally tied to January 6th because you were there. That's it. But you don't think Americans didn't feel the pressure or the pain during 2020 when BLM was out here destroying businesses? You had black business owners having to close their business because so much damage and destruction and theft happened during that time that the BLM put them out of business. I don't hear you crying about that. I don't hear you talking about that because it makes your side look bad. And I think this is the kind of comparison that American people are doing. More policemen died under BLM than January 6th. More policemen were assaulted during BLM than January 6th. More property damage was caused during BLM than January 6th. January 6th only happened for a day. Damn near the entire summer of 2020 was BLM rioting and destroying property and hurting people on the street. Everyday American people. And you want Americans to care more about something that only happened for one day than a situation that happened for an entire summer. Make it make sense, Hakeem Jeffries. But I digress.
That's actually lawlessness and disorder. We can't ignore it. I know they want us to. And actually, the American people, as I travel the country, all across America, are appalled that actually could happen. Why? Because they know it doesn't make them safer when you are pardoning people and sending a signal that kind of violence is all right. But
yeah, you didn't have that same perspective with the Minnesota fund that bailed out.
We're going to let that go.
The BLMers, right? The BLM riot, right? People can make the same argument. Oh, you said that, hey, it's okay to riot, right? Some people even said that it's because of what happened with BLM, it emboldened people to do January 6th. Make it make sense. You started the riot first, 2020, the entire summer, destroying property, destroying this, bailing out them. They suffer no real accountability. You talk about, oh, it signaled to the rest of the country that, oh, you can break laws. It's lawlessness. What's been happening with blue states? Lawlessness. January 6th happens 7 months after the summer of love, right? Chaz, you created autonomous zones. Seattle destroying police districts. Like, make it make sense. That was your people doing that. That was your rioters doing that, Democrat. You bailed them out. Donald Trump rioters come in and do something similar to what your people did for 3 months. They get the full extent of the law. They waited 4 years before they get bailed out. How long did the BLMers waited before they got bailed out? A couple weeks. But you trying to feign this fake moral virtue. This is why no one believes the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party comes across as fake. Fake. No one trusts these y'all. Y'all only do things in your own best interest. You're only defending federal workers because 92% of them voted Democrat. We see this as, you're just defending your political side. You're just defending your constituents. That's all you care about. That's why I call the Democratic Party the party of bureaucracy. Because look at the most bureaucratic state in the union, Washington, D.C. 92% of them voted for Kamala Harris. God damn. 92%? And you wonder why CNN, these reporters, they're so appalled when federal workers are asked, what did you do last week? I get asked, what did I do yesterday? I get asked in my job what I do every day. That's a common occurrence for the American people. That's why the American people ain't outraged over the federal government being asked, hey, what do you do here for the last week? Shoot, I'm asked what you did yesterday, Kenny. Every day I'm asked that question. But a federal worker can't ask that? Make it make sense. These people don't live in real life. This is why the Democratic Party, look, 2026 can't come fast enough. I need to see where the American people are at right now. Because there's no way they're believing the BS that's coming out of the Democrats' mouth. But I digress. You heard it there first. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what your guys' thoughts and perspectives are. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching this video to the end. And share this video if you feel so inclined. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.